Okay, so I'm Jasmine, and I am with Neighborhood Youth Achievers, and we have here,
Dolly. I'm also with Neighborhood Youth Achievers, and I'm happy to be here today.
yay. All right, so I'm just going to ask you a few questions, and I would like to know when was the first time you heard about mental health, and how was the concept introduced to you?
Yeah, so I think this was specifically around like mental health in the Latino community. And so, as a Latina woman, mental health is not something that's particularly talked about all the time, or salud mental, which is the name of this um, workshop. So I would say mental health and salud mental was introduced to me not until I was in college. And so I think that in itself was a privilege because a lot of people don't have that opportunity. So I was able to finally see a therapist because I was studying psychology and I was required to go to therapy. And it was the first time I was pushed to unpack a lot of things in my life. So that was probably the first official time I was introduced to the knowledge of mental health and well-being. Um, but prior to that, I had actually had therapy as a child, and I wasn't aware. You're just so young, and you don't know that you're going to therapy until you look back as an adult and you say, "Hey, that was a counselor." So that's something that resonates with me.
Okay, beautiful. Well, how has this shaped who you are today?
It's definitely shaped who I am today, especially as a immigrant Latina woman. I was born in Honduras. I think there's not a lot of resources. It's not something that we talk about in Central America or in a lot of immigrant countries about mental health. And so, coming from a different country and growing up here in Los Angeles and experiencing uh, just daily life can be difficult. And so, you look back and you think about all of those things that may have impacted you. I took that as resilience. And sometimes we cover our wounds with the word resilience. We say, "Oh, we're tough." And we don't unpack the things and we just mask it. So the way that I took my wounds is by overcompensating, by saying, "I'm going to save the community. I'm going to give back to the community. I'm going to be the best scholar, and I'm going to give back because they did not give to me. So I did not have. So I want to make sure that I give to those that I can." So that's kind of one way that I'm like processing those things that I've gone through.
And I want you to know you're doing a beautiful job.
Gracias. Thank you.
You are very welcome. So I just want to know, what is something that you heard about mental health that you later found out that wasn't true?
That mental health is just for that type of person or someone that has no controls of their facilities, right? They have to be somebody out of control, and that's absolutely not true. Most caretakers and a lot of educated people who are scholars, have doctorates, are therapists themselves, need a lot of mental health support. So it's something that everyone should consider at all times, whether you're actively healthy or if you're going through a crisis.
Okay. Well, have you ever encountered negative feedback related to mental health terminology, and how did you respond?
Yes. So in Spanish we say, "Oh, eso es para los locos." That's for the crazies, or nosotros no hacemos eso. Like that's not something that we do. So that's very common, and definitely something that still permeates in the culture. Or they kind of look at you, terapia. Why do you need that, right? And it's still something that is consistent throughout the community.
Okay. We kind of covered this, but when did you realize you needed to take care of your own mental health and well being, and what steps did you take?
So I definitely felt that I had to take action when I was in a place of what feels like overwhelming emotions and feelings and anxiety. I had to call up Kaiser and say, "Hey, I'm going through something right now, and I don't know what it's called, but I'm feeling this type of way, and I'm exhibiting these types of behaviors." And so it was that moment that I was like, I felt empowered to do so, and I'm thankful that I did have the capacity to do that. But it was just in a time of confusion. I felt like there was a lot of things that were triggering me, and I didn't know how to cope with them. So I felt unhealthy. So I was able to reach out and get some support.
Well, I'm glad you reached out instead of like withdrawing. That's beautiful. How can we as a community support each other and other maintaining mental well-being and breaking the stigma around mental health issues?
I think sharing stories, compartiendo momentos, compartiendo historias of moments where you were struggling and saying, this was difficult for me and I got help, makes it affirming for someone else to also seek support. So they feel not as alone. And you look at someone else and you say, you're so well adjusted, but really beneath the surface, we all have worked really hard to get to where we appear to be well adjusted. And so it's just something about sharing those experiences that really empowers other people to take action about how they're navigating life every day.
Okay. Awesome. So I want to know, based on your area of expertise, what is your understanding of how one of 8 dimensions of wellness, emotional, physical, occupational, social, intellectual, environmental, financial, spiritual, influences mental health?
So that's a big question because
sorry.
there's a lot of aspects to
Yes,
that.
ma'am.
But in my role, I've really worked in education and with the youth for the past 10 years. And so seeing education as a privilege is really important, but also knowing that mental health is not, it shouldn't be a privilege, it should be a right. It should be accessible to our youth. It should be accessible to the adults who are parenting the youth, specifically because many of our adults are broken and they're parenting children who they're parenting through their children. They're healing themselves through their children. So through my perspective as an educator, we first and foremost have to educate both the parent and the child on what resources and opportunities they have and what are signs of mental health needs, right? So it's not mental illness. It still continues to be mental health, and it's something that we have to address at all times. Just like you take a vitamin every day, you need to meditate or affirm yourself every day or check in with yourself every day to make sure that you are getting the proper nutrition for your spirit and your soul and your brain. So again, as an educator, just making sure that we continue to educate our parents so that they can raise healthy children.
Again, beautiful, beautiful. Do you talk about your mental health or emotional state? And what do you and your family say about mental health, and how do you engage them in these conversations?
I would say I don't talk about all of my feelings all the time, but I feel like I'm in a position where I am able to express feelings of being, I'm overwhelmed, and this is what I'm feeling. I wouldn't say that I talk to my abuela about my feelings necessarily, but I would say I have a pretty good relationship with my mother and my partner as well, and I feel comfortable sharing with them.
Okay.
I think having a larger conversation at the dinner table at Thanksgiving about therapy is still taboo. You know, will say we'll still get the comment of, no, terapia, that's crazy. So that's definitely something we hear still.
Okay. How do you take action for your own mental health, and what would you do to tell someone who is unsure about how to take the first steps in taking care of their mental health or seeking help?
So I would probably take a breath and then, maybe write down the things that are ailing me at the moment, but also seek accountability partners. I think I'm a very interconnected person. I really like to be around la gente, around the people, and asking for support through my community. Like, hey, I really need a eating healthy buddy, or I need someone to help me, encourage me to go on a walk, or sometimes even just checking me. Hey, you look really stressed out. Have you eaten today? Is really helpful. And those are things I like to have accountability partners for. But internally, I've just through practice learned to take a beat and realize that the world's not going to end if I do something to take care of myself.
Right. Most definitely. Well, I have one last question. How do you suggest we better support each other's mental health and well-being?
I would say continue to ask questions to those who you trust and confide in those that you trust about those things. Oftentimes we're holding a lot of things close to our chest because we're scared of what people's opinions are of us. And I think you should aim to trust at least one person and seek resources, as well as even if you are met with resistance, don't be discouraged because you are entitled to have a healthy mind and a healthy body. And if you're not healthy, then, you know, you can't serve those around you. So
Most definitely, most definitely. Well, I want to thank you for your willingness to share your story and being vulnerable. Your experiences and insight are very valuable in breaking barriers and providing others with the permission and the tools to take care of their own mental health. And together we can create a more connected and supportive community. So thank you, thank you.
thank
And
you,
I
Miss
appreciate
Jasmine.
it.
I appreciate it.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
we're thankful to the audience members that are here today. And again, we're Neighborhood Youth Achievers. We are a nonprofit based in Watts, and we are a youth enrichment program working to bridge the barriers of academic and success rates in the community of Watts. So hope to see you all soon.
Yay.
Bye.